I'm just making a recording in the subject matter being some of the things I've read on the internet today as far as the news. It looks like the victims of the shooting out in Fort Hood are being buried, and a comment by the widow of one of the soldiers is of interest to me, in that she talks about how we owe them our lives and our freedom. High school sweetheart got married to this man who joined the Army, career man, like a lot of them are, and paid the ultimate price for being a soldier. Now, we pay the ultimate price for a lot of reasons. It's not just for being soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and so on. But in this case, we have a special memorial for it because these women and men are in uniform, and they are in the uniform that represents the United States of America, both good and bad, by the way. And this has a special meaning to people who are married to service people or who are associated with them, mothers, sweethearts, sisters, etc., brothers, sisters, friends, etc. And when somebody dies that's in uniform, it's a loss that we all feel to some degree. Now, I'm saying this as a person who is totally against U.S. foreign policy as far as invading other countries and blowing them up every time we feel like it. But I think those days are going to come to an end very shortly. Thank God for that, even though I don't believe in God. But I'm going to thank whoever is out there. But, you know, these people serve us regardless of what you might think of them. I wore the uniform for a while. You may not think it I did, but I did. And I always thought about the fact that regardless of the relatively tame service I was in, although we did airlift wounded Army and Marines back to the States in era medevacs on our C-141s, so we helped save their lives anyway after they were wounded. It seemed to me that, you know, nobody ever stopped to think about the fact that there's an awful lot in fighting a war. We only see one side of it in the movies, all of the heroics and the glory and the gunfire and the explosions and the good guy, bad guy stuff and all that kind of commentary. And it's just all sheer nonsense. It really is. Basically, anybody in uniform is a target, and I always thought, even up to the end, that it was my job, if necessary, to die, that the ordinary civilians didn't have to. I mean, the ordinary people walking to work every day, stacking tires or stocking shelves, pumping gas, whatever it is that they do for a living, making things, servicing, maintaining stuff, building buildings, then they don't have to die. That's our job, the people in uniform. We must. And of course, it represents a cult of death. It's not a very pleasant feeling when you begin to realize that. A retired Marine Corps Lieutenant General said off the record at a leadership seminar that I attended one time that the primary reason for people wearing a uniform, no matter what the branch of service was, their primary mission is to break things and kill people. And that if you're not prepared to do that, then you're wearing the wrong suit. He said it didn't make any difference if we were on a humanitarian mission or a war mission. It was all the same in the end. If we do humanitarian work, that's all well and fine, and it makes us look very good. But he said you can best believe that planners are taking the lessons that they learn from humanitarian missions and applying them to war making. And the war making part is killing people and breaking things. We do it better than anybody else in the world, and we will do it until our commander-in-chief tells us to stop doing it, or there isn't anything else to kill or break. And that's our job when we're in uniform. Now, when it happens to us, I think that it has a special pain that we feel deep inside. The fact that we've suffered a true loss, that a soldier, sailor, airman, marine, what have you, has been offered up onto the fires of sacrifice. And sacrifice and death is the foundation of any armed force on the face of the earth. I don't care who it is. When you take a look at a military funeral and how it's played out, and the salute fired, all that kind of stuff, the handing over of the flag, the sounding of taps, and all that kind of thing, it is a heartfelt song. It's bittersweet pain that stings you all the way to your soul. If you've ever worn a uniform or had any other pride in uniform and flag as it represents the country, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you've never had that feeling, then there's no way that you can know. That's all. I mean, people look at me dumb sometimes, and I'm even stupefied myself that I even think these things. And I may be dead wrong. Maybe nobody thinks that way except me. I have no idea. I don't know what other people think. That's the reason that I make these videos, because I want to tell people what I think. And if I can tell people what I think and get it off my mind and start a conversation or a debate or an outrageous fury of back and forth, then I think it does good in the long run. And I hope that you all are safe tonight, and you're all thinking about these guys and gals that were killed at Fort Hood. Also think about the perpetrator. What kind of emotional pain and hell was he going through that led him to this decision that seems to be quite rational, even though that we say it's an irrational act and he might have been insane or that he might have been a terrorist. It appears that he carried out a planned operation of his own making and design. Now, other evidence has to come out later, and there has to be a trial, and there has to be a presenting of the evidence and a back and forth between lawyers to make sure that this is done right. And hopefully, we will get some idea of what was happening. However, that's yet to be in the future. But tonight, those of you who have tears to shed, shed them. Those of you who have a flag in your possession, as I do downstairs above my desk, that represents my father, who fought in World War II, now 7 years gone, then take a look at that flag and breathe in deep. Take in that sense that's indescribable and impossible to imagine, unless you have actually put on that uniform, taken that oath, and done things that no one else would even think about doing.